Disillusionment, discouragement. Are you familiar with those words? Those experiences? Disillusionment and this loss of hope, discouragement. All of us could write a book about these very painful experiences in life where the hopes that we develop are dashed. And what are we supposed to do? Comes with the territory of living. And it happens probably more than we want to have to deal with it. The story of Emmaus today is a story of discouragement and disillusionment. These guys are walking like you and I walk. Don't we do that? You know your body language when you're depressed? How much do we look down? We look down, we don't look up. One of the nice things about not having hymnals anymore is you're looking up more. I was told by an expert in maintenance, always polish the floors, because people come in and don't look up, they look down. So if the floors are clean, and by God, we polish these floors. If the floors are clean, then people are going to think it's wonderful, that everything is clean. We're going to do a spot check of homes in the parish in the next couple weeks. I'm coming unannounced to check your floors. But looking down, they're looking down. They're downhearted. They're sad. Everything that they'd hoped for is dashed. The person they trusted and hoped for is dead. What do you do after the person you put your money on, your life on, is gone? I mean, it's an adjustment. Now what? Now what do we do? It's disillusionment. And what we thought was going to happen is not going to happen. Well, enter the stranger. Now, is this not interesting? These men who are apparently disciples of Jesus encounter a stranger. What's that about? What's different? Why didn't they recognize him? It's post-resurrection. Jesus is now present in a new way, not present just with the visible eye. Jesus is different, but they recognize him later. It is a recognition that comes with an aha moment of faith. It's not obvious at the beginning. So Jesus is totally changed in the resurrection. They're not ready for a happy ending to that story. They're wallowing in the sadness of the loss. How much of our life is like that? The hopes and dreams that we have, dashed. I quit. I've had enough. I can't take one more thing. You know the drill. We have to listen to this story as a story about Jesus joining us, because the story to the journey of Emmaus is really the journey of a lifetime that each one of us has to make. Part of that journey is disillusionment and discouragement. What do we do when things sour or do not pan out according to our desires, our wishes, our hopes, or our plans? What's the kind of quotable quote? If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Who are we to say this is the way it's going to be? A lot of times that does not materialize. And sometimes when it's in the more important things, we are crushed. And we know those experiences too well. But this story is an Easter story, which suggests that in every moment and experience of disillusionment, it is preparatory to a way in which Jesus will reveal himself in a new way. How many times do we say this? One door shuts, but another one opens. How many times this has happened in a lifetime? I thought it was over, but out of this came something life-giving. Out of a death came a life. Out of an ending came a beginning. This is the crux of the Christian faith. God does not allow things to end in endings, but in new life and new beginnings. This is an article of faith. And it is faith that is about trust, about saying, now how is that going to happen in our life? We need Emmaus moments. When I think of Emmaus, you know what comes to mind for me? Moments where our heart's not burning. When you look at that artist's rendering, look at the disciples. It's in the breaking of the bread that something is happening. Now, you know what that is for us right here. The transformation that is asked of us is the same as the transformation of the bread and wine into the body and blood of Christ, which we consume, which changes us if we allow it. Jesus meets us on our journey of Emmaus at every Eucharist, for example. But he also meets us in our encounters with each other, which we need to cultivate in this life. Did you ever sit down and have a conversation with somebody? It could be a family member or a friend. Maybe you haven't seen that person for a while. And you start talking, could be on a phone. You start talking, and before you know it, it's an hour and a half. Or it's a long time. Where did all the time go when we were talking? What happened in that moment that I wasn't watching my watch? We got into something that is timeless. It was not about time and space. It's about truth. Or we were onto something, we were hitting those buttons and those nerves that are most critical to our life. We're into it. And I'm so into it, everything else pales. That's an Emmaus moment. We need those. We run the risk today of not having enough of them. I gave this homily last night, and one of our parishioners sent me a video on my Facebook page last night, which if I could, I'd run it this morning. I couldn't get it together quick enough. I'm going to put it on the parish website. It's on my Facebook page. So those of you Facebook, go and check it out. I don't know exactly the title, but there's a picture of 3 young women leaning against a post, all on the phone, on their individual phones. And she says to me in her message with this video, during your homily, I thought of this video that I saw and how many Emmaus moments in our lives have been taken away from us because of technology. It is a powerful video, about 4.5 minutes, of how we are missing each other. And it shows a guy who's on the phone, puts it down, meets a woman at a corner looking for directions, and then a love relationship blooms and a whole life. Then they go back and play it when he stays on the phone and doesn't look up and misses her going by. And nothing happens because he was on the phone or looking, texting, or doing something. How much of our life is looking at a screen today and not into the eyes of another person? Now, I saw on another Facebook, I'm getting all my homily material on Facebook this week. But this one was, I put down my phone and I talked with my family. Actually, they're not so bad. Well, we make jokes out of it, but immediately. And this stuff, and believe me, I use it like we all use it. It's second nature to us now, but it is a crutch. Because when I'm alone, and there's nobody to talk to, I don't know what to do with myself. So what do? Go on my phone. Then you see me on my phone thinking I'm very important because I got a call and I got a message, which is more important than looking at you. It's a crutch. The dark side of that is we miss a moment when we are together, particularly when it's with the people who are most important in our lives. Now, that's just one example, but it's the fast pace of life. It's the way we are so active and hyperactive from the moment you can walk as a child and are driven by your families and everybody else to be active 24/7. You cannot rest, you cannot play, and then we wonder why our children grow up not being grateful or not having any acknowledgement of anything, anybody. Do you ever give children gifts? And I have to be careful here. It's in all of our families. It's a birthday or Christmas, and you give a gift to a child. Next. What's next? What are you going to give me after this? Where do you think where does this stuff come from? Where does it come from? The lack of ability to enjoy one gift. I need 10. The materialism itself interferes with Emmaus in our lives. What is Emmaus? Where our hearts burn because of each other, not some trinket. And we're into the trinkets, and we keep finding new trinkets at the expense of a life together. Where is God in all of this? Trying to break in. Does he need to come in? Will I get more faith if I go on a religious homepage or website? Maybe. Maybe God's on the web too. But it is not losing the personal dimension of our life together. And that's what we run the risk of. This is generational. Older people don't understand the technology. And maybe they have to teach the younger generation that it is okay and not be intimidated by the younger ones who are smarter than they are. Because in the end, it's not what's on my screen. It's about you. Life is too short to pass each other as strangers in the night and miss these Emmaus moments that are so critical to give us hope and encouragement, not just for the end of our life, but to get out of bed for tomorrow. The Lord sends into our lives these moments and these people. Every encounter is an opportunity to be engaged. Now, we can't do it at 24/7, but we need to be more attentive. We're wrapped up in worlds of our own, in denial and barricaded against the world around us if we're not careful. That's why this does not happen. That could also be your dining room table, or when you gather as family with loved ones and friends to sit down and eat and visit and chat. How much of that goes on in our lives? You remember the old saying, the family that prays together stays together? Father Patrick Peyton, you old timers. How about the family that eats together stays together? We don't do that anymore either. We're ships in the night. The culture really is a challenge. It's always a challenge. But we cannot roll over and play dead and be bobbleheads with this stuff, because our faith is at risk. Where do you think God is if not in the world in which we live each day? And my non-engagement in what's around me, I'm in another world that I'm barricaded against everything. And if you start this at age 3, tell me where you're going to be when you're at 33 and 63, and if you live to 93. It's a lonely life. Check that video out, and we'll get it on the parish website this week. It tells the story in kind of like it's a parable, but we all need to come to our senses about not taking each other for granted and wondering where God is when we're not feeling the presence of God in our life. God is there. We aren't. And that's the wake-up call that we all need to come to. So our hearts need to burn. We need these transformative moments where we literally step outside of ourselves and are renewed. That can happen in the Eucharist. Sacramentally, it does. We must take this gift and allow it to multiply and grow in our life together every day.